Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Nick, and in today's video I want to talk about crested geckos and when is the perfect breeding weight for them. Okay, so at what time should you breed your crested gecko if you're looking to breed crested geckos? So let's get right into it. So firstly, I'm going to cover the females, right? So when is a female crested gecko able to breed? When do female crested geckos reach sexual maturity? So this is typically going to happen whenever they start laying eggs. That's when you'll know that they've reached sexual maturity, right? Well, not necessarily. Some female crested geckos can start laying as low as 25 grams, believe it or not. Now that gecko is not ready to be bred yet, but technically they've reached sexual maturity. For a female crested gecko, you're going to want to breed her once she hits 40 grams. 40 grams is typically the minimum. I highly recommend 45 grams with a tail and 40 grams without a tail. Now, most places will tell you 40 grams, right? I think that can be utilized, but if you want your female to really have the best chance at bouncing back quickly from laying, at 45 grams, she has a better shot than whenever she's at 40 grams with a tail. Now that's just something that I've experienced over time, is I found that my tailless girls seem to breed better because I wait till 40 grams than if I just wait till 40 grams with a full tail gecko. So just something to keep in mind: with a tail, 45; without a tail, 40 grams. That's just general rule of thumb that I personally follow. So at what age can you breed a gecko? So a lot of the things that we do in the crested gecko world revolve around weight, you know, as far as sexing, breeding, how often you should feed bugs even. That all revolves around what does your gecko currently weigh, right? Well, age plays a big factor in this. For a female, you shouldn't really breed a female until she's about 18 months old at least. 24 months old is probably more ideal, because by that point she's probably fully done growing and she's already utilized all the calcium that she personally needs for herself. So that's important to remember. The earlier that you breed your female crested gecko, the earlier that you're going to take away calcium that she may need for herself and she's going to devote toward her eggs. 18 to 24 months is a sweet spot for a female, no doubt about it. So the peak breeding ages. Your female crested gecko is probably going to peak as the best breeder she can be at probably 4 years old to 10 years old. That is probably when she is going to be on fire, laying every 30 days, perfect, beautiful, healthy eggs. Their first season, don't expect much. Some geckos have incredible first seasons. They lay, let's say they lay 18 beautiful, solid, pearly white eggs. That can happen. For the most part though, you're gonna pair that gecko. It's gonna take a couple months. She's gonna lay 2 sets of eggs. They're probably gonna be duds the first time. And then maybe next month she might start laying decent eggs, or she might not. It really varies female to female. So don't be discouraged by a female's bad first season. That can happen, and it's really not that uncommon. If you do decide to continue working with that female, make sure you're keeping records, only because if she has 2 bad seasons in a row, then you probably don't want to keep breeding her, because there's probably a bigger issue than just being a first-time breeder. Between 4 and 10, you're going to see them really peak at breeding. Some people will retire their geckos way before that. Some people retire them way after that. Some people never retire their geckos. Some people just breed and breed and breed. It really depends on the gecko and what the gecko's telling you, and you as the owner need to listen and respect that, whether this gecko can continue to breed or this gecko cannot continue to breed, and it's just one of your really pretty pets. So now I want to talk about males. Breeding males is a super interesting topic and subject when it comes to just the whole breeding process in general, right? Males can become sexually mature at 20 grams. Just like the females can. But the males can actually reproduce at 20 grams, but I still would not recommend pairing them at 20 grams for a couple of reasons. The big one is when a male is 20 grams, he's still a small boy, okay? He is not gonna probably be able to handle some of your big female breeders. And then the other reason is that some males will be so fixated on breeding and making sure that they're reproducing that they can go off food. And this is something that's normal with a lot of reptiles, actually. Males overbreeding, you can overbreed male leopard geckos and they can die, male ball pythons and they can die. So it's not crazy to think that you can't overbreed a male crested gecko, even though we don't hear about it much. And typically it happens when they're smaller. Typically a large adult male doesn't really have this issue as much. Now it still can happen once they hit that 40 gram mark, but it's a much higher chance the smaller that they are. So if you have a 20 gram male, I highly recommend not breeding him yet, even though technically he's probably ready. So for a male, I would wait at minimum 30 grams. 35 is kind of my lowest I've ever done. I do know other breeders and have seen other breeders talk about at 30 grams they've had a male successfully reproduce with a female. I definitely would not let them live together at that point at all, and I really don't think that males and females should live together in general anyway. Personally, for my males now, I wait till 35 grams at least, and then I make sure that they're bulking up as they breed. If you are gonna breed smaller, you need to make sure that that male is still consistently gaining weight. Otherwise, you run the risk of him dying, as we mentioned earlier, or just not necessarily dying from breeding, but overbreeding, not eating, which the not eating leads to the dying part. Once your male hits 40 grams and he's been breeding, or you wait till 40 grams just to breed him in general, just make sure he still is getting, he's still gaining a little bit and still kind of living a normal, active crested gecko lifestyle. I think my male breeders fall anywhere from, the smallest right now is, I want to say he's 40 grams now. And then my biggest male right now, I want to say is 55 or 60 grams, somewhere in that range. Talking about the females now, whenever they lay eggs, you should anticipate either a 3 to 8 gram loss. 3 is the smallest I've seen. 8 gram is the biggest I've seen. I average 5 to 6 grams of weight loss every time my female lays her eggs. Now, it's important to make sure that if your female laid at 60 grams, the next time she lays, you want her to be at 60 grams. So, and to reverse that, if she lays and she's at, let's say she's at 50 grams, the next time she lays, you want to make sure she's still 50 grams or so. And if she's not, try introducing some crickets or some bugs, or maybe try feeding her a little extra, because it's very important for these females that they don't have a huge variance in between layings. And what I mean by that is you don't want a female to lay at, let's say she lays at 55 grams, she drops down to 50 grams, okay? The next time she lays at 55, she drops down to 48. Then the next time she goes up to 53, drops down to 46, let's say. That's not a good sign, and that's something that you need to look at your female and figure out, what do I need to do to get this girl back up in weight so that she isn't losing so much weight so drastically while she's breeding. Weight loss during breeding is not a good sign for males or for females. The most important thing, in my opinion, is making sure that your feeding schedule is consistent, and it's consistent enough so that the gecko kind of falls into a breeding season where they don't really have to think about when food's coming. They're just very focused on breeding. And this is all if you're a breeder and you want to breed. Make sure that you're consistent with your feeding schedule. I'm sure most of you are, whether you're a breeder or not. So learning your geckos is a huge deal, and learning what to expect from them is a huge benefit to you when it comes to breeding. You want to make sure that you know that gecko and you know what to expect from your gecko as you go through this season. Because, you know, the breeding season is going to last from March to October, you know, somewhere in that range. And then you want to give them a couple months off during the winter to cool down, and then ramp it back up again in February or March. So learn your gecko. Make sure that after a breeding season, the next season, they're at the same weight, at least that they were the season before. That's important as well. You want to make sure that from season to season, your females aren't losing weight, or your males even. You know, just make sure everybody is happy and healthy. Just to wrap up this video, if you're gonna breed, make sure you do a ton of research and listen to more people than just me. You know, do a ton of research, talk to people, reach out to people, and just make sure it's something that you're prepared for. I hope this helped you guys, and I hope this kind of helped you guys understand maybe a little bit more about breeding crested geckos and when to breed them and how to breed them and things like that. That's the video, guys. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel a lot. Comment something down below. Tell me about your breeding experiences. I'd love to hear about them. And until next time, guys, stay safe and stay positive.